The first sign of a nuclear attack isn't the explosion. It's the silence before it. Imagine it's an ordinary afternoon. You're scrolling through your phone. The city hums as usual then, without warning, the sky flashes brighter than the sun. Within seconds, that brightness could decide who lives and who doesn't. In a nuclear attack, awareness is survival. You can't outrun a blast, but you can recognize the signs before the worst happens. Modern defense systems around the world constantly scan the skies for ballistic missile launches. These systems like NORAD in North America or Russia's OCO satellites can detect nuclear launches within seconds. But civilians rarely get that information right away. That's why civil warning systems exist. Loud sirens, emergency phone alerts, or sudden interruptions on TV and radio. If you ever hear an alert saying, "Take shelter immediately," treat it as real. Even if it turns out to be a false alarm, the few seconds you save could mean survival. But what if there's no warning? There are still natural signs that something catastrophic is happening. The most obvious is a massive, blinding flash of light. It's not like lightning, it's a continuous, burning brightness that lights up the entire horizon. If you ever see it, don't look directly at it. The light alone can cause permanent blindness. Instinctively drop down, cover your eyes, and turn your body away from windows. The pressure wave that follows travels slower than light, so you'll have roughly 5 to 10 seconds before the shock wave arrives. Another sign is sudden electrical failure. If a high-altitude nuclear device detonates, it releases an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, that disables electronics over hundreds of kilometers. Your car might stall, your phone may die, and the lights go out all at once. If that happens along with a distant flash, it's time to move immediately to the nearest sturdy building. Governments also rely on air raid sirens that follow specific tone patterns. In some countries, a long, rising and falling siren indicates a nuclear or air threat, while a steady tone signals all clear. Learn what these patterns mean in your region before an emergency happens. Don't wait until panic strikes to figure it out. When official alerts and physical signs overlap, sirens, power failure, and a visible flash, you can be almost certain a detonation has occurred. The next moments will determine whether you survive the fallout or become part of the statistics. Awareness buys time, and in nuclear events, time is everything. To improve your reaction time, familiarize yourself with your country's emergency broadcast systems. Many modern smartphones are connected to public warning networks that push alerts, even when cellular data is off. Systems like the US Wireless Emergency Alert, or Europe's Public Warning Service can deliver messages directly from national defense agencies. Keep these notifications enabled, not silenced, and never disable location services during periods of tension or war. Those signals can save lives. Environmental cues can also help. Birds suddenly fleeing, animals acting erratically, or a strange, glowing horizon before dawn can all be indicators of an explosion miles away. Remember, light travels faster than sound. The flash comes first, then the thunderous boom and the pressure wave. If you see the flash, drop immediately and stay low until the wave passes. Even if you survive the initial blast, the radiation danger begins right after. Knowing what's happening in the first seconds allows you to act faster, finding cover, sealing doors, and avoiding the radioactive dust that will soon fall from the sky. Another vital preparation step is owning a battery-powered or crank radio. In a nuclear scenario, cell towers and the internet may collapse. Radios, however, work on simple analog frequencies and can receive government broadcasts long after other systems fail. Learn which AM or FM stations in your area are designated for emergency messages. Keep that frequency written down in your shelter area. Finally, mental readiness is as important as physical action. People who survive disasters aren't necessarily the strongest, they're the quickest to react. If you see or hear signs of a nuclear strike, don't waste time recording it or searching social media. The videos can wait. Life can't. Recognize, react, survive. That's the mindset you need when the sky burns brighter than the sun. When a nuclear weapon detonates, it releases more energy in a fraction of a second than all the bombs dropped during World War II combined. The explosion is not a single event. It's a sequence of deadly phenomena that unfold in milliseconds. Each phase of the blast brings unique and devastating effects. Intense light and heat, the shockwave, initial radiation, and the radioactive fallout that follows. The first effect is the flash, a burst of light so powerful it can be seen hundreds of kilometers away. It lasts only seconds, but carries unimaginable energy. Anyone looking directly at it within a large radius risks instant or permanent blindness. The flash ignites fires, melts asphalt, and vaporizes anything close to the epicenter. It's not just brightness. It's the release of pure energy. Next comes the thermal pulse, the wave of heat that can reach temperatures over 10 million degrees Celsius at the point of detonation. Within a 1-kilometer radius, human bodies are instantly turned to ash. At greater distances, severe burns, blistering, and skin carbonization occur. The air itself becomes a weapon, carrying enough heat to ignite wood, cloth, and even concrete surfaces. Then arrives the blast wave, moving faster than sound. This pressure wall flattens entire city blocks, hurling debris like bullets. Buildings collapse inward, glass becomes shrapnel, and vehicles are thrown through the air. Anyone caught outside is likely to suffer fatal injuries from blunt force or collapsing structures. Even miles away, the shockwave can rupture eardrums and cause internal bleeding. After the initial pressure wave comes the suction phase, air rushing back toward the explosion center, creating powerful winds in the opposite direction. Fires merge into storm-like infernos, consuming oxygen and spreading chaos through already destroyed areas. Survivors trapped in open spaces face extreme heat, choking dust, and flying debris. But the visible destruction isn't the deadliest part. Seconds after the blast, an invisible killer spreads outward, ionizing radiation. Neutrons and gamma rays emitted in the first minute can penetrate walls and flesh, damaging cells and organs on a microscopic level. People within the high radiation zone may look unharmed but develop severe sickness within hours. The last stage begins as the towering mushroom cloud rises. It pulls tons of dust, metal, soil, and ash into the atmosphere. This material becomes radioactive and begins falling back to Earth as fallout, deadly rain of contaminated particles that can travel for hundreds of kilometers depending on wind, speed, and direction. The bright sky soon turns gray, and the air fills with invisible poison. To understand what happens during a nuclear explosion, imagine the timeline compressed into less than a minute. In the first second, a ball of fire forms, expanding rapidly and vaporizing everything within sight. By the 5th second, the shockwave reaches out, leveling buildings and scattering debris in every direction. By the 10th second, the mushroom cloud begins to rise, marking the destruction visible from space. What remains afterward is not silence, but an eerie roar of fire, collapsing structures, and wind. Temperatures remain hot enough to ignite secondary fires across entire cities. This phenomenon, known as a firestorm, can create its own weather system, powerful updrafts that pull in air, feeding the flames for hours. The human body is particularly vulnerable to the combination of heat, radiation, and trauma. Thermal burns may cover exposed skin, while glass and metal fragments cause deep lacerations. Internal injuries from the pressure wave can be fatal even without visible wounds. Radiation exposure begins destroying bone marrow, immune cells, and DNA. Within hours, nausea, vomiting, and fatigue set in early symptoms of acute radiation sickness. The ground zero area becomes a wasteland. The detonation melts steel, fuses sand into glass, and leaves behind radioactive isotopes that linger for decades. Even short-term survivors face a second crisis: fallout. These fine particles settle on clothing, skin, food, and water sources. Without proper shelter and decontamination, radiation doses can accumulate to lethal levels in just a few hours. In the following hours and days, winds spread radioactive material far beyond the original target. A single bomb can contaminate entire regions, poisoning rivers and farmland. That's why immediate sheltering, staying indoors, sealing windows, and avoiding exposure is the only viable survival strategy once the explosion has occurred. A nuclear detonation is not just a flash in the sky. It's a chain reaction of light, fire, pressure, and invisible death. Understanding each stage helps. You grasp why the first few seconds are your only chance to live. When the flash appears, hesitation is death. You have only seconds to make decisions that will determine whether you live through the next hour. A nuclear explosion happens faster than the human brain can process, but survival depends on instinctive action. Don't look at the flash, don't run toward windows, and don't wait for confirmation. The moment you realize it's real, act. If you are outdoors, drop immediately to the ground. Lie flat, face down, and cover your head with your arms. Keep your mouth open slightly to reduce internal pressure when the shockwave hits. The blast wave will arrive seconds after the flash. It can break bones, rupture organs, and turn debris into deadly projectiles. Staying low and behind any solid object, curb, car, or wall dramatically increases your odds. Avoid standing near glass or vehicles. Shattering windows and flying fragments kill more people than the heat itself. Once the initial shockwave passes, do not run aimlessly. Fires, radiation, and secondary blasts may follow. If you can still move, your next goal is clear. Find shelter any structure with thick walls, minimal windows, and preferably underground. If you're inside a building when the explosion occurs, stay there. Move away from windows toward the building's center or basement. Avoid stairwells and open areas. The more mass between you and the outside, the better. Close doors and vents, and block cracks with wet towels or duct tape to limit radioactive dust infiltration. Radiation can't pass easily through concrete, metal, or packed earth, so even a parking garage or subway station can save lives. Communication networks may fail instantly. Tower outages, destroyed cell towers, and EMP interference will make the outside world silent. Do not panic. Radios powered by batteries or cranks are your lifeline. Tune into emergency frequencies. Authorities will announce when it's safe to move and in which direction. Until then, movement is risk. Psychologically, the hardest part is resisting the urge to see what happened. Curiosity kills. Many survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki died because they left cover too soon, exposing themselves to deadly fallout. You must stay put for at least 24 to 48 hours, even if everything outside looks calm. That dust falling like snow is not harmless. It's poison. Once sheltered, start applying survival logic. Cover all skin. Use masks or cloth to avoid inhaling radioactive dust. Remove outer clothing if you were. Outside, it can eliminate up to 90% of radiation particles. Place contaminated garments in a sealed plastic bag far from living spaces. If water is available, wash your face and hands thoroughly. If not, use wet wipes or damp cloths to clean exposed skin. Now, secure your essentials. Ration water and food. Consume sealed bottles and canned goods first. Do not eat or drink anything exposed to air or dust after the blast. Avoid tap water until authorities confirm it's safe. If you have pets, bring them inside immediately and wipe them down with a wet towel before letting them near others. Stay calm and organized. Count how many people are with you, note any injuries, and prioritize first aid. Stop bleeding, cover burns, and keep the injured warm. Radiation sickness won't appear instantly. It develops over hours or days. Early symptoms like nausea and fatigue mean exposure, not immediate death. Keep hope and control panic. Your goal is simple. Survive the first 48 hours until fallout levels drop enough for safe evacuation. If you're in an apartment, move to the center hallway or stairwell away from windows. In a house, head to the basement or lowest level. Reinforce your shelter by stacking heavy items, books, furniture, even filled water containers against outer walls. Every layer cuts down radiation exposure. Time will feel endless, but it's your ally. Radiation intensity decays quickly. After 7 hours, it's about 1/10 of the initial level. After 2 days, it's 1/100th. That's why patience equals life. Wait for official updates through radio, broadcasts, or military announcements before moving outside. Remember, surviving a nuclear explosion isn't luck. It's preparation, discipline, and composure. If you can control your fear and follow these steps automatically, your chances rise exponentially. The explosion is unstoppable. Your survival is not. You survived the flash, the blast, and the first minutes. The roar fades, leaving only dust, fire, and silence. Now begins the hardest part, staying alive in the aftermath. The air outside is poisoned with radioactive dust. The ground is littered with debris, and every decision counts. From this point on, it's not about speed. It's about precision and control. If you were outside during the explosion, your first mission is decontamination. Every inch of your clothing is covered with this fallout, microscopic, radioactive dust that will burn your skin and damage your body from the inside if you breathe it in. Do not enter a shelter or building without first removing the outer layer of clothing. Strip down to undergarments, place all contaminated clothes in a sealed plastic bag, and leave it far from living areas. If water is available, rinse exposed skin with soap and warm water, but avoid scrubbing, which can push particles deeper into pores. Once inside, seal your environment. Close all windows, doors, and vents. Use towels, tape, or plastic sheets to block air gaps, especially around doors and windows. Shut off fans, air conditioning, and ventilation systems that could pull contaminated air inside. Your goal is to create a barrier between you and the outside world. Fallout is heavy. It will settle to the ground within hours, meaning the danger decreases significantly the longer you stay sealed. Communication will likely be gone. No internet, no cell signal, no electricity. This is when a battery-powered or hand-crank radio becomes your most valuable tool. Tuned to official emergency frequencies. Governments often broadcast survival instructions through AM or FM radio. Stay calm and quiet. Conserve both your physical and mental energy. If you are trapped with others, organize quickly. Assign tasks, sealing rooms, checking injuries, rationing water, and collecting tools like flashlights and first aid kits. Leadership is survival in chaos. People panic when they feel helpless. Giving everyone a role reduces fear and increases cooperation. The key now is patience. Don't try to flee immediately. Fallout radiation outside is deadly in the first hours, but it decays rapidly. The more time you spend indoors, the safer you become. Think of time as your invisible shield. Inside your shelter, ration resources carefully. Do not eat or drink anything that was left uncovered after the explosion. Radiation can contaminate open food and water, especially if dust entered your home. Use bottled water first. If supplies are limited, drink small amounts at intervals rather than all at once. You can survive 3 weeks without food, but only 3 days without water. Keep your shelter dark and cool. Avoid lighting candles unless necessary. They consume oxygen. Use flashlights sparingly, preserving batteries for radio use. If you have pets, keep them indoors. Wipe their fur with damp cloths and prevent them from wandering near entrances. Animals, like humans, can carry fallout dust into your living area. Monitor everyone for signs of radiation sickness, nausea, vomiting, dizziness, fatigue, and burns appearing hours after exposure. These symptoms don't mean immediate death, but they indicate contamination. Try to rest, stay hydrated, and wait for official guidance before seeking medical help. If you have multiple floors, stay in the middle or lower level, avoiding attics and roofs where fallout dust can accumulate. Basements provide the best shielding, but if unavailable, use interior hallways surrounded by walls on all sides. Reinforce weak spots with furniture, heavy books, or water containers to add radiation protection. As the hours pass, you might hear distant sirens, explosions, or silence. Don't assume it's safe just because it's quiet. The invisible enemy, radiation, is still out there. After 24 hours, radiation will have dropped by roughly 90%. And after 48 hours, by 99%. That's when short, cautious evacuations become possible, but only if authorities confirm. During these first 2 days, focus on calm breathing, structured actions, and emotional control. Fear consumes energy and clouds judgment. You survived the blast. Now, survival depends on endurance. Stay inside, stay sealed, and stay disciplined. The outside world can wait. You won't hear it coming. You won't smell it or taste it. But after the blast, it's the fallout that decides who lives and who dies. The term fallout refers to the radioactive dust and debris lifted into the sky by a nuclear explosion, only to drift back down across the Earth. It's the deadliest phase of a nuclear attack, invisible, silent, and unforgiving. When a nuclear bomb detonates, the fireball vaporizes everything within its radius: soil, metal, concrete, even human remains. This vaporized material rises into the atmosphere and cools, forming billions of microscopic radioactive particles. As the iconic mushroom cloud expands, winds carry this contaminated ash for hundreds of kilometers. Within minutes to hours, gravity pulls it back to the ground, coating cities, forests, and rivers in a fine gray powder that glows faintly at night. That dust is pure death. Fallout emits gamma radiation, an invisible wave that penetrates walls, skin, and bone. Exposure can cause radiation sickness, internal bleeding, and cancer years later. In the first 24 hours, it's lethal within minutes of exposure. That's why immediate shelter is critical. The thicker and heavier the walls around you, the safer you are. A basement, underground parking area, or interior concrete room can cut your radiation dose by 90% or more. The pattern of fallout depends on wind and weather. A ground-level detonation produces far more fallout than an airburst because it sucks up soil and debris. Prevailing winds can carry radioactive dust far from the explosion site, sometimes hundreds of kilometers away. That means even if you're not near the blast, you could still be in danger hours later. Visually, fallout looks like dirty snow or light ash falling from the sky. Never touch it, never breathe it. Each flake carries deadly isotopes like iodine-131, cesium-137, and strontium-90, which continue emitting radiation for weeks, months, or even decades. Don't let the calm gray sky fool you. When fallout begins to descend, staying indoors is the only safe choice. The danger from fallout follows a predictable curve. In the first hour after detonation, radiation levels are at their peak. After 7 hours, the danger drops to 1/10. After 2 days, it's about 100. This simple rule is called the 7-10 rule, a vital piece of survival math. Every extra hour you spend in shelter drastically improves your odds of surviving. Fallout contamination doesn't just affect humans. It poisons soil, rivers, livestock, and crops. Food grown and contaminated, soil or animals that graze on it become radioactive from within. That's why survivors must rely only on stored or sealed supplies for weeks following an attack. Rainwater, too, is unsafe at first. Only filtered, bottled, or boiled water collected well after fallout has settled can be safely consumed. Inside your shelter, keep the air clean. If you have no proper filter, use improvised methods. Damp cloths over vents, plastic covers on cracks, and frequent sweeping with wet rags to remove settled dust. Never shake out clothing or blankets, as this stirs radioactive particles into the air. After 48 hours, open one small area cautiously to check for visible dust accumulation, but never step outside until official authorities confirm radiation levels have dropped. Fallout's psychological toll is immense. You may feel trapped, claustrophobic, or desperate to escape. But patience is your greatest defense. The radioactive particles lose power. Over time, the world outside is healing, even as you wait. It's not bravery to step out early. It's suicide. Only when the fallout period passes can recovery begin. Remember, the blast destroys what you see. Fallout kills what you can't. It turns the sky into poison and the ground into a grave. But knowledge is your shield. If you understand how fallout moves, how fast it fades, and how to avoid it, you can outlast even the deadliest silence on Earth. When the world outside becomes uninhabitable, your survival depends on where and how you take shelter. In a nuclear event, a good shelter isn't just a place to hide. It's a shield between you and the invisible storm of radiation. Every second you spend exposed increases the danger. Every layer of concrete, earth, or steel between you and the fallout reduces it. The best shelters are underground. Basements, subway tunnels, underground parking lots, or storm cellars offer the highest protection. Radiation travels in straight lines and weakens as it passes through dense materials. So the deeper and thicker your surroundings, the better. If you live in a building with a basement, that's your sanctuary. Move to the lowest possible level, ideally below ground, and stay away from windows or exterior walls. If you have no basement, choose an interior room at the center of your home, one without windows. Bathrooms, hallways, and stairwells often make good improvised shelters. The key is mass. Stack heavy furniture, bookshelves, or filled water containers against the outer walls to increase the barrier. Water is particularly effective. It absorbs radiation and provides drinking supply simultaneously. When building a shelter, think of 3 principles: time, distance, and shielding. Time. The longer you wait before going outside, the safer you are. Radiation levels drop rapidly with time. Distance. The farther you are from radioactive material, the less exposure you'll receive. Shielding. The denser the material between you and the fallout, the greater the protection. Even a small apartment can become a life-saving bunker if sealed properly. Use plastic sheets, duct tape, or wet towels to close off cracks and vents. Turn off air conditioning and any systems that draw outside air. Once sealed, stay quiet and calm. Unnecessary movement stirs dust and wastes energy. Light sources like LED lamps or radios should be your only power drains. Inside your shelter, organization is your defense. Assign tasks to anyone present. One person monitors radio updates, another checks supplies, another manages hygiene and waste. Panic leads to chaos. Structure restores control. Keep a notebook or phone if battery permits, to log time and radiation decay intervals. It reminds you that the danger is temporary. Temperature and ventilation will be challenges. Underground shelters can become humid or hot, while surface rooms may get stuffy. Crack open vents briefly, every few hours if fallout has settled and winds are calm, but only after 48 hours and using filtered openings. You can make a simple filter by layering cloth and charcoal over vent holes. Radiation can't penetrate thick barriers easily, but it can enter through small gaps. Don't underestimate insulation. Add soil or sandbags over roofs or around walls if possible. Even 20 to 30 centimeters of packed earth can reduce radiation by half. A double layer of brick or concrete provides nearly tenfold protection. If you live in a high-rise building, move to middle floors, not the top, where fallout lands, and not the bottom if basements aren't shielded. The central core of a building, stairwells, utility rooms, usually offers the best radiation protection. Keep morale high. A shelter is not just a bunker. It's a temporary home in the middle of chaos. Encourage silence, rest, and cooperation. Use flashlights sparingly. Maintain hygiene with minimal water and avoid arguments. Human psychology can be as fragile as the walls around you. Survival isn't just physical, it's mental endurance. Your shelter is your world now. Protect it, maintain it, and believe in it. The walls that separate you from the radioactive winds outside are the only thing standing between life and extinction. In a world suddenly torn apart by nuclear fire, the difference between life and death may come down to one simple thing: what you packed before it happened. The 72-hour survival kit, also called a go bag, is your portable lifeline. A bundle of essentials that keeps you alive when everything else collapses. You can't predict a nuclear strike, but you can prepare for it. Your goal is to sustain yourself for 3 days without help. Rescue crews, if they exist, won't arrive immediately. Roads will be blocked, communication will be gone, and stores will be stripped bare within hours. Having a ready kit isn't paranoia. It's realism. Start with water, the most precious resource after a nuclear blast. You need at least 3 liters per person per day. Pack bottled water in durable plastic containers and seal them tightly. Add purification tablets or portable filters. Fallout may contaminate rivers and rainwater for days. Water is heavy, but without it, nothing else matters. Next is food. Choose non-perishable items that need no cooking. Canned goods, protein bars, dried fruit, and nuts. Avoid salty foods. They make you thirstier. Include a manual can opener. It sounds trivial until you realize you can't open your only meal. Food provides not just energy, but morale. Familiar flavors remind your mind of normalcy. Clothing is your shield against both radiation and weather. Pack sturdy, long-sleeve layers, a rain poncho, gloves, and a hat. A simple mask or scarf can help filter fallout dust. Choose dark colors. They show less dirt and retain warmth. In freezing climates, thermal layers and socks are non-negotiable. Hypothermia kills faster than radiation. Every survival kit needs light and power. Include a flashlight, spare batteries, and a hand crank radio. The radio connects you to the outside world when the internet is gone. If possible, add a small power bank or solar charger for minimal electronic use. Keep everything in waterproof bags. Radiation won't stop electronics, but water will. Next, focus on first aid and protection. A proper medical kit includes antiseptic wipes, gauze, adhesive tape, scissors, painkillers, burn ointment, and any prescription medicines you or your family require. Include potassium iodide tablets, only if instructed by authorities. They protect the thyroid from radioactive iodine but must be used in correct doses. Also carry a digital thermometer and gloves. Infection prevention is crucial when hospitals no longer function. Hygiene supplies are often overlooked but essential. Pack wet wipes, hand sanitizer, toothbrushes, toothpaste, soap, and garbage bags. Disease spreads fast in cramped, unsanitary shelters. A small towel and extra undergarments can make a huge difference to your comfort and health. You'll also need tools: a Swiss Army knife, duct tape, lighter, matches in waterproof containers, rope, and a whistle. These seem simple, but they can repair gear, seal leaks, or signal rescuers. Include paper maps of your area in case GPS systems fail. Mark safe routes, rivers, and possible shelter locations. Store everything in a durable backpack that's easy to carry. Keep it in a cool, accessible place, ready to grab within seconds. Everyone in your household should know where it is. If you have children or pets, make smaller versions suited to their needs. Time won't wait when the sirens sound. Lastly, pack for your mind as well as your body. A deck of cards, a small book, or family photos might seem unnecessary, but they can restore hope when despair creeps in. Mental resilience can carry you through when supplies run low. Your 72-hour kit isn't a luxury. It's a promise to yourself. It says, I plan to live. Every flashlight, every can of food, every drop of clean water means one more day closer to safety. When the world goes dark, the prepared survive. After a nuclear explosion, survival isn't only about finding shelter. It's about cleaning death off your skin. Radioactive dust, known as fallout, clings to clothing, hair, and every exposed surface. You may not see it or feel it, but each grain emits invisible radiation that can poison your body in hours. Decontamination is the process of removing this contamination before it penetrates deeper or spreads to others. The moment you find safe cover, stop moving. Every step stirs dust into the air. If you were outside when the explosion occurred, your clothing is now a hazard. Don't sit, don't touch your face, and don't hug anyone until you've cleaned yourself. The first and most effective move: remove your outer layer of clothing. This single step can eliminate up to 90% of radioactive particles. Handle garments carefully, touching only the inner surfaces. Place them in a plastic bag, seal it tightly, and store it far away from where people eat or sleep. Next, focus on your body. If running water is available, wash exposed skin gently with lukewarm water and soap. Avoid scrubbing. Friction can push particles deeper into pores or small wounds. Start with the face, hands, and hair, areas most exposed to fallout. Use your fingertips instead of brushes or sponges. Rinse thoroughly, letting the water carry away contaminants. If water is unavailable, use wet wipes, damp towels, or cloths. Wipe in a single direction rather than back and forth. Pay special attention to folds of skin, behind ears, under nails, around the neck, and elbows. Do not use hand sanitizer or alcohol. They don't remove radioactive dust and can irritate the skin. Hair requires special care. Fallout particles cling to oil and static. Wash your hair twice with regular shampoo, not conditioner. Conditioner traps particles by sealing them into the hair shaft. Let the water flow downward, not across your face. If you can't wash, cover your head with a clean cloth until safe water is available. Once you've cleaned yourself, it's time to protect your space. Do not bring contaminated items into your shelter. Mark the sealed bag of dirty clothes and place it outside or in a closed-off area. Never burn contaminated materials that only spreads radiation through smoke. If possible, create a clean zone and a dirty zone inside your shelter, using plastic sheets or blankets as boundaries. Always move from dirty to clean, never the reverse. Next, Clean surfaces where fallout might have settled. Use damp cloths to wipe floors, tables, and door frames. Dispose of used wipes in sealed plastic bags. If vacuuming is your only option, use HEPA filters and clean the machine afterward. Keep windows and doors closed, and avoid shaking curtains or rugs, which can release trapped dust. Decontamination doesn't stop with your body. It extends to your food and water. Wipe off sealed containers before opening. Avoid eating anything left uncovered outdoors. Fruits and vegetables can be peeled, but those grown in contaminated soil should be discarded entirely. Never drink from open sources like rivers, lakes, or rain barrels until fallout has fully settled and you've filtered or boiled the water. Psychologically, the process can be terrifying. You'll feel dirty even after washing, and the thought of invisible radiation will linger in your mind. But remember, decontamination works. Each step reduces your dose. Each wash resets your survival clock. The goal isn't perfection, it's reduction. Every particle removed is a chance gained. In nuclear survival, clean is life. Dirt isn't just dirt anymore. It's death disguised as dust. Treat every speck seriously. Every wash is victory. Once your environment and your body are free of contamination, you've taken control of the one thing you can still command, yourself. Once you've sealed your shelter and cleaned yourself, the real test begins: time. In a nuclear disaster, survival is not measured in minutes or hours, but in patience. Radiation follows predictable decay patterns, which means that the longer you stay indoors, the safer you become. Every hour that passes brings you closer to life instead of death. The first hour after the explosion is the most dangerous. Radiation levels outside are at their absolute peak, sometimes thousands of times higher than what the human body can endure. Going outside during this period, even for a few minutes, can lead to fatal exposure. Inside your shelter, resist every urge to peek out or check the damage. Curiosity kills, literally. Seal yourself off, stay calm, and breathe slowly. This is not a sprint, it's endurance. By the 7th hour, the intensity of radiation has dropped to about 1/10 of its original strength. This is the foundation of the 7 to 10 rule. Every 7-fold increase in time after detonation reduces radiation to 1/10 of its previous level. It's not magic, it's physics. The radioactive particles lose energy as they decay, making the outside world gradually less lethal. At around 24 hours, radiation will have fallen by about 90%. You're still not safe, but your chances have improved dramatically. This is when you can start reorganizing your space, checking your supplies, and strengthening your shelter. If you have a radio, tune in for updates. Emergency broadcasts often announce which zones are safe or when it's possible to evacuate. Keep your mind busy. Mental focus keeps panic away. By 48 hours, radiation drops to about 1% of its initial level. That means brief exposure, a few minutes outside to gather supplies or reposition materials, becomes possible, but only if absolutely necessary and only after confirming conditions. Cover your skin completely and use masks or cloth to avoid inhaling fallout dust. Every step outside must be deliberate, not desperate. The first 3 days, 72 hours, are the threshold between chaos and stability. If you've survived that long inside your shelter, you've beaten the most lethal phase of the fallout. Now, it's all about sustaining yourself until rescue or radiation. Decay makes travel safe. Use this time to rest, hydrate, and maintain cleanliness. Avoid stress and conserve strength. Fatigue weakens the immune system and morale. The 4th to 7th days mark a crucial transition. Radiation continues to decrease rapidly, but the environment is still unpredictable. Rain can bring down fresh fallout, and wind may carry contaminated dust from distant regions. Do not leave your shelter unless official broadcasts confirm safety. Keep track of time by marking days and hours. It helps you plan and prevents hopelessness. If you must leave temporarily, move quickly and purposefully. Cover every inch of your body, including eyes and mouth. Return inside immediately after completing your task and repeat decontamination. Never bring outdoor items directly into your living area. Treat everything outside as radioactive until proven otherwise. By the 2nd week, the external radiation will have decayed enough for limited, controlled evacuation in many areas. Yet some hot zones may remain deadly for months. Authorities will measure contamination and announce green, yellow, and red zones for movement. Never assume safety based on appearance. Grass may regrow, skies may clear, but radiation is invisible. Staying indoors isn't cowardice. It's strategy. The walls around you are not a prison. They are armor. Every passing day means less radiation, cleaner air, and higher odds of survival. When the time finally comes to step outside, you'll do it not as a victim, but as a survivor of the unthinkable. A nuclear explosion doesn't just destroy buildings. It rewrites the biology of those who survive. The human body, so fragile and precise, isn't built to endure invisible waves of ionizing radiation. From the moment the fireball ignites, the air becomes poison, and life begins to count down in minutes, hours, or years depending on how close you were. The first stage of exposure is acute radiation syndrome, ARS, the body's violent reaction to high-dose gamma and neutron radiation. Within hours, victims experience nausea, vomiting, dizziness, and fever. Their blood cells begin to die, the immune system collapses, and the gut lining deteriorates. In extreme cases, bleeding under the skin and hair loss occur within days. Those who receive very high doses may die in less than 48 hours. There is no antidote. Only time, care, and distance reduce damage. Survivors farther from the blast face slower but still deadly consequences. Radiation damages DNA, the molecule that defines every cell. Cells that divide quickly, like those in the skin, bone marrow, and digestive tract, are hit the hardest. This leads to fatigue, infections, and anemia. Burns from the heat combine with radiation burns to create wounds that refuse to heal. Hospitals, already overwhelmed or destroyed, may have no capacity to treat so many critical cases. Psychologically, survivors experience shock, despair, and disorientation. Many report a haunting silence after the blast. No birds, no wind, only the echo of destruction. The trauma of witnessing mass death and physical decay often results in long-term post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, survivors describe years of fear and guilt, living with the constant question, why did I survive when others didn't? Children and pregnant women are especially vulnerable. Radiation disrupts cell division during growth, leading to birth defects, developmental delays, and higher cancer risks. The effects may not appear immediately. They can emerge months or even generations later. In the months following exposure, the human toll continues to unfold. Many survivors develop cancers, particularly leukemia, thyroid, lung, and breast cancer, years after the event. The culprit is damaged DNA that mutates as the body attempts to repair itself. Even those who seemed healthy at first may later face organ failure, cataracts, or infertility. Radiation doesn't discriminate by age or strength. It simply follows the laws of physics and biology. Genetic effects are one of the most feared legacies of nuclear radiation. Although not every mutation leads to visible deformities, the risk of passing harmful changes to offspring remains for generations. Animal studies and long-term observations in humans show increased frequencies of genetic abnormalities, though the full extent remains difficult to measure. The impact isn't just physical, it's emotional and societal. Entire populations may live under the shadow of invisible contamination. The environmental cycle ensures that the damage doesn't end with people. Radioactive isotopes like cesium-137 and strontium-90 settle in soil and water, entering the food chain. Fish, plants, and livestock absorb radiation, and when humans eat them, contamination returns full circle. Even a decade later, these isotopes can still be detected in ecosystems, creating a haunting legacy of invisible danger. But human resilience is remarkable. The body can repair much of the damage if exposure is limited, and psychological recovery, though slow, is possible. Survivors who receive early medical attention, clean food and water, and community support can rebuild their lives. The lesson from past tragedies is clear. Knowledge, preparedness, and compassion are as vital as any antidote. A nuclear blast ends countless lives, but it doesn't have to end humanity. The radiation fades, the ground heals, and people adapt. The scars, both physical and emotional, remain, but they are also proof of survival. The real enemy isn't just radiation. It's ignorance and fear. If humanity learns from the past, even the most devastating light can lead us toward understanding instead of extinction. For decades, humanity has lived under a paradox: peace maintained by the threat of total annihilation. The nuclear age began not just with the detonation of bombs, but with the creation of global rules to prevent their use. These nuclear protocols and treaties are the fragile threads holding civilization together. After the devastation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, nations realized that no victory could justify the cost of nuclear war. In 1946, the United Nations created the Atomic Energy Commission, marking the first step toward international regulation. But the Cold War quickly transformed nuclear power into political currency. The United States and the Soviet Union began stockpiling thousands of warheads, each capable of erasing cities in seconds. To control this arms race, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, was signed in 1968. It remains the cornerstone of nuclear diplomacy. Under the NPT, 5 countries, the US, Russia, the UK, France, and China, are officially recognized as nuclear states. In return for that recognition, they agreed to pursue disarmament and prevent other nations from acquiring nuclear weapons. Non-nuclear members pledged not to build bombs in exchange for peaceful nuclear technology. It's a balance built on trust and fear. Another key agreement is the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, CTBT, which bans all nuclear explosions, both for military and civilian purposes. Though not all nations have ratified it, it established a powerful global monitoring system with seismic sensors that can detect even small underground tests. Throughout the late 20th century, diplomacy danced with deterrence. The idea of mutually assured destruction, MAD, dominated defense policy. If one superpower launched, the other would retaliate, ensuring total extinction. Ironically, the certainty of destruction kept the peace. It wasn't morality that stopped leaders from pressing the button. It was mathematics. Today, 9 nations are known or suspected to possess nuclear weapons: the US, Russia, China, France, the UK, India, Pakistan, Israel, and North Korea. Together, they hold over 12,000 nuclear warheads, though most remain in storage. The United States and Russia control roughly 90% of them. Modern treaties, like New START, limit deployed strategic warheads and verification systems, but tension between superpowers continues to threaten progress. Modernization programs are another concern. Rather than dismantling old arsenals, nations are investing billions to develop smaller, tactical, nuclear weapons designed for battlefield use rather than total destruction. Critics fear these make nuclear war more likely by lowering the threshold for use. The line between deterrence and temptation is growing dangerously thin. The international community continues to push for disarmament through newer agreements like the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, TPNW, adopted by the UN in 2017. It aims to outlaw the development, possession, and threat of use of nuclear weapons entirely. Over 90 countries have signed, but none of the major nuclear powers have joined. For now, the treaty is more a moral stand than a practical shield. Global monitoring remains the key to prevention. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, inspects nuclear facilities, ensuring civilian reactors aren't repurposed for weapons. Satellite imagery, seismic networks, and intelligence agencies collaborate to detect suspicious activity worldwide. Every launch, every flash, every seismic tremor is recorded. The world's eyes never blink. Ultimately, the survival of humanity depends not on treaties or technology, but on restraint. Laws can be ignored, machines can fail, but human choice remains. The real defense against nuclear war is awareness, the collective understanding that a single mistake could end civilization. The greatest weapon we possess is not destruction, but reason. When disaster strikes, confusion kills faster than radiation. In a nuclear emergency, every second counts, and every family member must know what to do, without hesitation, without panic. A family plan isn't about fear. It's about unity under pressure. The goal is simple: stay together, stay informed, and stay alive. Start with communication. During or after a nuclear detonation, phones and the internet may fail. Choose a predetermined meeting point, somewhere close to home but structurally safe, such as a basement, school, or public shelter. Write down the address, not just in your phone but on paper in every family member's bag. Establish a check-in chain. One person calls another, who then calls the next, ensuring no one is forgotten. If networks collapse, a handwritten note at a designated spot can be more reliable than a smartphone. The next step is role assignment. In chaos, leadership saves lives. Assign clear duties before disaster ever happens. One person gathers the emergency bag, another seals windows and doors, another handles pets or children. This structure replaces panic with purpose. Rehearse these roles. Make it muscle memory. The first few minutes of discipline can mean the difference between survival and tragedy. Home preparation is the foundation of any family plan. Choose the safest room in your home, ideally underground or in the center of the building. Reinforce it in advance. Thick curtains to block flash burns, duct tape to seal gaps, heavy furniture to form barriers. Store emergency supplies there. Food, water, flashlight, first aid, radio, masks, and warm blankets. Once the blast occurs, you won't have time to run upstairs or search cupboards. Preparation must happen now, not later. Plan for time, because surviving isn't measured in minutes, but in hours and days. Everyone in your household should know the 48-hour rule. Do not leave the shelter until at least 2 full days have passed and authorities confirm safety. Make sure you have enough supplies to last that long. If you live in a city, radiation may take longer to settle. Be ready for a full 72 hours indoors. Create a family contact card for each member. It should list names, blood types, emergency contacts, allergies, and home coordinates. Laminate it and keep it in wallets or school bags. For children, teach a simple phrase. Find a police officer or emergency worker and show this card. In chaos, clarity saves lives. Don't forget psychological support. Fear spreads faster than fallout, and children will mirror your emotions. Speak calmly, explain in simple words, and never let them see panic in your face. Keep them occupied. Songs, stories, or small tasks help restore a sense of control. Survival isn't only physical, it's emotional endurance. Pets, too, are part of the family plan. Prepare carriers, extra food, and waste supplies. Never leave them outside during fallout. Their fur collects radioactive dust. When it's safe, clean them with damp cloths before re-entering the shelter area. Finally, practice the plan. A drill once every few months may feel awkward, but it teaches instinct. When fear hits, your body must already know what to do. Discuss scenarios openly, not to scare, but to prepare. A family that plans together doesn't just survive together. It protects hope itself. Disaster tests more than survival. It tests connection. When the world outside falls silent, the sound of your family's calm voices will be the most powerful defense you have. When the fire fades and the silence deepens, survival becomes something new. Rebuilding. The world after a nuclear detonation isn't just wounded. It's transformed. The air, the soil, the rivers, all carry the memory of destruction. But so do the people. Those who remain must rise not only from ruins but from fear itself. Rebuilding after the fallout is more than restoring cities. It's reclaiming humanity. The first stage begins with assessment. Before rebuilding anything, survivors must measure radiation levels and determine which zones are habitable. Using Geiger counters and dosimeters, teams mark safe paths and contaminated areas. The hot zones near ground zero remain deadly for months or years, while distant regions may clear within days. Recovery starts in the shadows of danger. Every decision measured, every breath cautious. Infrastructure comes next. Clean water is the top priority. Wells, rivers, and reservoirs must be tested and filtered before use. Simple filtration systems made from sand, charcoal, and cloth can remove particles, but not radiation. Governments or military units often bring portable purification systems to re-establish drinkable water sources. Without this, no recovery is possible. Then comes power and shelter. Solar panels, batteries, and generators become lifelines. Survivor salvage wiring, rebuild shelters, and repurpose underground structures. Communities that cooperate recover faster. Isolation breeds despair. Teamwork breeds civilization. Even a small light bulb powered by scavenged materials can feel like a victory against the darkness. But the psychological rebuilding is harder. People have lost not just homes, but entire worlds. Fear of invisible radiation lingers. Every cough, every strange mark on the skin becomes a source of dread. Counselors, teachers, and leaders become as vital as engineers. Without mental recovery, no city can truly rise again. Weeks turn into months, and the landscape begins to change. Grass pushes through ash, and trees, though twisted and gray, return life to dead soil. Humanity learns again to plant, to build, to trust the sky. Radiation cleanup teams collect contaminated debris, burying it deep or sealing it in containers lined with lead and concrete. Nature's own healing, rain, wind, and time, slowly dilutes what machines cannot erase. Governments that survive organize relocation zones. Survivors move from temporary shelters into new towns built outside the contaminated radius. Trade returns, first with food and clean water, then with knowledge and tools. The rhythm of civilization, barter, labor, hope, restarts in its simplest form. Some call it survival. Others call it rebirth. In the long term, technology and science play the lead role in renewal. Radiation-resistant crops, robotic cleanup drones, and underground data vaults preserve what's left of human progress. Lessons from Hiroshima, Chernobyl, and Fukushima guide the new generation of builders. Protect, adapt, endure. Humanity is a species of memory. We learn, sometimes painfully, but we do learn. And amid all the rebuilding, a quiet question echoes. What now? Will the survivors repeat the same mistakes, or finally understand the cost of arrogance? Every rebuilt bridge, every home, every new dawn is a choice, to fear the atom or to respect it. Rebuilding after the fallout isn't about returning to what was lost. It's about creating something wiser from what remains. The human story has always been one of destruction and rebirth, and this time, the price of forgetting could be the end of everything. After the last fire fades and the skies grow quiet, the earth begins its slow process of healing. Though scarred and poisoned, nature has an ancient instinct: regeneration. The aftermath of a nuclear explosion is brutal. Radiation, ash, and chemical toxins saturate the air, water, and soil. But even in the shadow of death, the planet starts to recover. Time becomes the medicine of the world. The first stage of recovery is radiation decay. Not all radioactive isotopes last forever. Some vanish in hours, others linger for centuries. The half-life of an element determines how long it remains dangerous. For instance, iodine-131 decays in just 8 days, but cesium-137 can persist for 30 years, and plutonium-239 for over 24,000. The Earth's healing process begins when these unstable atoms lose energy and break apart. The invisible countdown towards safety. Rain helps cleanse the atmosphere by pulling radioactive dust down to the ground. Though this creates contaminated soil at first, it also clears the air. Within weeks, skies turn from gray to pale blue again. Winds disperse remaining particles, and sunlight slowly purifies the upper layers of the atmosphere. Radiation near ground zero may still be lethal, but just 50 kilometers away, nature begins its quiet work. The land transforms next. Plants, the first soldiers of life, begin to reclaim the wasteland. Mosses, ferns, and lichens, species that tolerate high radiation, appear first, covering rocks and rubble. Their roots trap dust, and their decay enriches the soil. Within months, insects follow. Birds return soon after, carrying seeds from untouched regions. In time, the blackened earth begins to turn green again. Even in the most devastated zones, like Hiroshima, Chernobyl, and Fukushima, scientists have witnessed nature's astonishing resilience. Forests regrow, rivers run clear, and animals adapt to radiation far better than humans can. Evolution, indifferent and unstoppable, reshapes life to survive the new reality. Radiation decay and biological recovery move hand in hand. As isotopes lose potency, the environment transforms from deadly to habitable in waves. The rule of sevens applies here too. After 7 hours, radiation drops to 1/10. After 2 days, to 1/100. After 2 weeks, to 1,000. Though hotspots remain, the world doesn't stay dead, it evolves. Water systems are crucial indicators of renewal. Contaminated rivers first carry toxins downstream, but over months, sediments trap radioactive particles beneath layers of silt. Microorganisms begin breaking down pollutants. Rain cycles dilute contamination further, and deep aquifers, shielded by stone, become drinkable once again. Nature filters itself, molecule by molecule. Animals, too, return. Deer, foxes, wolves, and boars have reclaimed exclusion zones once abandoned by humans. In Chernobyl, wildlife populations grew larger after people left. The paradox is striking. Life flourishes when humanity retreats. It reveals a painful truth. The Earth doesn't need us to heal. We need it. Over decades, forests reclaim ghost cities. Vines swallow walls, and roots break through concrete. The scars of human civilization become ecosystems. Though some isotopes persist, their radiation eventually fades into background levels, indistinguishable from natural cosmic rays. In geological time, a century is a breath. The planet has endured asteroid impacts, volcanic winters, and ice ages. It can outlive our mistakes. The ultimate lesson of environmental recovery is humility. The Earth will survive us, whether we protect it or not. Radiation decay is both science and symbol, proof that even the most catastrophic energy releases are temporary in the grand cycle of life. What matters is whether humanity learns to heal as quickly as the planet it nearly destroyed. In the end, green always wins. The greatest victory of the nuclear age is not the invention of the bomb. It's the fact that, so far, humanity hasn't used it again. That restraint hangs by a thread. Every new conflict, every political crisis, reminds us how fragile peace really is. Preventing the next nuclear war means facing the uncomfortable truth. Survival depends not on weapons, but on wisdom. The first line of defense is diplomacy. Dialogue, no matter how tense, is always cheaper than extinction. International communication channels, hotlines, embassies, and summits exist for one purpose: to prevent misunderstanding. During the Cold War, a single misinterpreted radar signal could have triggered Armageddon. What stopped it wasn't luck, but the calm judgment of individuals who chose to wait, to verify, to think. That's what must endure. Next is transparency and trust. Nations fear what they cannot see. Verifiable treaties, open inspections, and satellite monitoring reduce paranoia, the real fuel of war. Organizations like the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, and global arms control treaties serve as humanity's conscience. They don't eliminate danger, but they manage it, keeping chaos from becoming catastrophe. Technology itself plays a double-edged role. Artificial intelligence and automated defense systems can detect missile launches faster than humans, but they can also act without hesitation. Preventing nuclear war means controlling our machines before they control us. Algorithms may calculate risk, but only human ethics can decide what's acceptable. The future of deterrence must include human override, because once the decision to launch is made, there's no undoing it. Education is equally vital. The world's younger generations must understand the reality of nuclear weapons, not through propaganda, but through truth. Knowing the horror ensures awareness. Awareness ensures resistance. Forgetting is the first step toward repetition. Political reform is another crucial defense. Democracies, for all their flaws, tend to act more cautiously with weapons of mass destruction. Public accountability, free media, and transparent decision-making create barriers between anger and annihilation. In contrast, secrecy and authoritarianism amplify risk. The fewer people controlling the button, the greater the chance it's pressed. Global unity must also move beyond words. International alliances, NATO, the European Union, ASEAN, aren't just military or economic. They are symbolic shields of shared stability. The more nations trade, cooperate, and depend on one another, the harder it becomes to destroy each other. Economic interconnection is the quiet guardian of peace. But true prevention starts with cultural change. Humanity must evolve past its obsession with domination. Power should no longer mean who can destroy, but who can protect. Art, education, and storytelling must remind us that the Enemy is not another nation. It's annihilation itself. Empathy is the antidote to fear. Nuclear disarmament isn't a dream. It's a duty. It begins with small steps, dismantling old warheads, stopping new production, and redirecting military funding toward climate resilience and global health. The greatest security lies not in the number of bombs, but in the number of minds committed to peace. The final safeguard is awareness. Every citizen, leader, and soldier must remember what's at stake. As long as nuclear weapons exist, they are waiting to be used intentionally or by accident. Preventing the next nuclear war isn't just about technology or treaties. It's about refusing to let fear guide us. Peace isn't maintained by power. It's maintained by perspective. The future belongs not to those who prepare for destruction, but to those who prepare for understanding. The next war can't be fought, because it would also be the last. Humanity now stands at a crossroads carved by its own hands. The nuclear age, born in fire and fear, has given us both the power to destroy and the power to enlighten. For 80 years, this double-edged sword has hovered over civilization, shaping politics, science, and philosophy itself. The question has never been whether we can control the atom, but whether we can control ourselves. The future of humanity in the fattery and the nuclear age depends on balance, between curiosity and caution, between progress and restraint. Nuclear energy, when used for creation instead of destruction, has fueled cities, powered spacecraft, and saved millions of lives through medical technology. It has also contaminated rivers, caused meltdowns, and haunted entire generations. The same force that splits the atom also splits our conscience. In the decades ahead, nuclear technology will evolve beyond weapons and reactors. New fields like fusion energy promise limitless, clean power, the same process that fuels the stars. If humanity succeeds in mastering it, the very source of the bomb could become the key to ending energy scarcity forever. Yet the risk remains. Every scientific breakthrough carries a moral shadow. Fusion could unite the planet, or divide it again if monopolized by power. Education and transparency are the pillars of this future. The next generation must learn not just how atoms work, but why their control matters. Science without ethics is as dangerous as ignorance without curiosity. A world that understands nuclear science only as a weapon will always fear it. One that understands its harmony with nature can use it to protect life instead of ending it. The nuclear age is no longer defined by mushroom clouds. It's defined by choices. Every treaty signed, every reactor built, every lesson taught becomes a declaration of intent. The same technology that once promised extinction now offers salvation, if guided by wisdom instead of greed. To survive the nuclear age, humanity must evolve intellectually and spiritually. Fear can no longer be the foundation of peace. Only understanding can. Nations must cooperate not through threats, but through shared purpose, transforming nuclear science into a symbol of unity, not division. Just as the atom's energy can be split or fused, so can humanity's. The difference lies in intent. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and advanced monitoring systems may make accidental nuclear launches impossible one day. But technology alone won't save us. Compassion will. The next great leap in human civilization won't be physical or technological. It will be moral. We will either learn to coexist with the power we've created or vanish beneath it. The dream of a nuclear-free world isn't naive. It's necessary. Each generation that accepts nuclear weapons as normal passes on a legacy of fear. To break that cycle, we must build a culture that values coexistence more than competition. The power of destruction should never outweigh the value of life. Imagine a future where nuclear energy lights cities without polluting skies, where nations collaborate on planetary defense, and where the atom symbolizes intelligence, not extinction. That vision is not fantasy. It's a choice. The nuclear age doesn't have to end in darkness. It can become the dawn of a more conscious world. The fate of humanity is no longer written in the stars, but in the nucleus of the atom and in the hearts of those who wield it. Whether that energy becomes the light of progress or the fire of ruin depends entirely on us.